On today's episode, we recap Toughest Mudder West.
This is the world's toughest podcast. Welcome to the world's toughest podcast, where we talk about any obstacle course race you'd like, as long as that's the world's toughest mudder. Each week we talk to members of the WTM community and share stories of success and failure in the single greatest event in OCR. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the world's toughest podcast.
Welcome back to World's Toughest Podcast. My name is Will Hicks. Thank you for listening. On today's episode, Toughest Mudder West recap. It was canceled. Special thanks to all of our listeners. Next week on our show, who knows? Maybe it'll get canceled too. No. All right. No. Let's talk about Toughest Mudder West. The short story. It was canceled due to safety concerns caused by excessive rainfall. That's the short version. We'll talk about the long version with Heather Heaton in a minute. Heather Heaton is a member of the World's Toughest community who runs, pits, and volunteers. She does it all. She was planning to run Tough Mudder on Saturday, volunteer all night at Toughest Saturday night, and then run Tough Mudder on Sunday morning. When the race was canceled, she got a group of mudders together, and they went to Disneyland. We'll talk with her in a few minutes. Before we start, my name is Will Hicks. You can email me at willhicks@gmail.com. We haven't talked about this much, but you can listen to the show on Spotify. If you are on an Android phone, Spotify is probably the easiest way for you to listen to the show. Tell your friends. Also, new social media feeds for you to follow, if that's your thing. On Instagram, World's Toughest Podcast. On Twitter, @Toughest Podcast. I like Twitter more, but most of you seem to like Instagram more. That's fine. @Toughest Podcast on Twitter and World's Toughest Podcast on Insta. Insta. Why do you kids call it Insta instead of Instagram? What do you do with all that time you save? You can also qualify to win a free pair of Merrell trail running shoes by texting the word tough to the number 22828, or you can subscribe via email. Check the show notes for details on how to subscribe via email. Those shoes you can win: a pair of the Merrell Agility Peak Flex 2 E-Mesh or the All Out Crush 2.0. There's two versions of the All Out Crush 2.0. My new Agility Peak Flex 2.0s are on the way from Amazon, but I bought a pair of the new Tough Mudder All Out Crush 2.0s a few weeks ago. I was going to take them for a test drive at Puppy Mudder this past weekend, but Mother Nature stole that away from me. You can be a part of the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, and I will read it on a future episode. Listen, if you want to be a part of the World's Toughest Cool Kids Club, you should leave a review on Apple Podcasts. So, what happened at Toughest Mudder West? There were rumblings online in the middle of the week, like Tuesday, Wednesday, even Thursday, that Team HQ was thinking about canceling Toughest Mudder that weekend. But no one really thought they were true, or at least I didn't. They'd never canceled a Toughest Mudder before. And there was a lot of rain at the venue, but it's Tough Mudder, right? You can't cancel a mud-based race because there's too much mud. The first person to tell me definitively that Toughest was canceled was a listener, John Hobson. I said this a few weeks ago. I love the tips that you send me. They make my life so much easier, and there's like way more information than I would ever get, especially the international guys. Ian Kay over in the UK, Dennis Valsamas over in Australia. I shouldn't start naming names because I'm going to forget some people. But anyway, thank you, John, for getting me that on Twitter. After John told me that, I reached out to a few people. Melissa Dugan, Sharkbait, had heard the same thing, but it wasn't confirmed yet, so we waited. We got the official word a few hours later. All Saturday events would be canceled, including Saturday night's Toughest Mudder. Then on Saturday afternoon, they announced Sunday would be canceled also. The reason they gave for the cancellation was course safety. I'm going to read you the email they sent everyone canceling Toughest Mudder. Due to unexpected extreme weather conditions damaging the event site and creating unsafe conditions, the Saturday Toughest Mudder Los Angeles event has been canceled. We know this is an incredibly frustrating situation. You trained, traveled, and were ready to take on the event. While this is disappointing, we want you to know that our team worked hard to try and hold the incredible and safe event you deserve, but we are not able to guarantee that on site for Saturday. Our participants' safety is our top priority, and it must drive all of our decisions. You can transfer your ticket for free to a future Tough Mudder event. Transfers are valid to the same brand as your current registration. America's Toughest Mudder South, Central Texas, May 5th, 2018. America's Toughest Mudder Midwest, Michigan, June 2nd, 2018. America's Toughest Mudder East, Boston, June 23rd, 2018. Thank you for your support, and we remain committed to bringing the highest quality events to all members of Mudder Nation. TMHQ. It's interesting that they list the 3 other U.S.-based Toughest Mudders, South, Midwest, and East, Texas, Michigan, Boston, but they don't mention the 3 in Europe or the 1 in Australia. I wonder if you wanted to transfer to one of them, if they would let you do that. The unofficial story I heard was that due to all the rain, if there was a medical emergency at the top of the mountain or at an obstacle far away from the Mudder Village, they wouldn't be able to access the people via ATVs to evacuate them from the course. Tough Mudder posted pictures from Mudder Village showing the entire thing flooded. It looked like a shallow quagmire. A lot of the people signed up to run Toughest Mudder West are from the surrounding Southern California area, but a lot of them aren't. People flew in from all over. Morgan Mackay flew in from Canada. Ray Coble flew in from Colorado. Ryan Atkins and Lindsay Webster flew in from Canada. Jim Campbell flew in from Colorado. People flew in from all over, mainly Canada and Colorado. So what do you do when you have 500 people in town in Southern California that can't run their Tough Mudder? Some of them go drinking at the beach, and some of them go to Disneyland. Heather Bodie was with a group that got together, and they did a trail run, but apparently they were trespassing or going somewhere they weren't supposed to. No one got in serious trouble, but it made for a good story on Insta. She might talk about it on her Overcome and Run podcast. Matt B. Davis was going to cover the race for his ORM podcast, but he went to Hollywood instead and recorded interviews for his Atlanta podcast in Hollywood. The people who got the short end of the stick were the elites who run these races as their job. I mentioned Morgan Mackay and Rhea Coble. Rhea was posting on Instagram on Friday night, the night we got word that it was canceled. She was upset, she said. She was emotional. She went for a run to work through it all, and she said it was the worst run of her life, but that she felt better afterwards. Ray had a good point. She said she was mad, but there was no one to be mad at. People made the right decision, safety-wise, so what are you going to do? Ray ended up flying home early the next day. Morgan Mackay took advantage of an offer to go run the Spartan race in Las Vegas for free, and she went and won her age group just because she could. Well done, Morgan. And that's the whole deal also. This Tough Mudder canceled on Friday. A few hours later, Spartan starts pushing this ad on Facebook. Race canceled? Race free in Las Vegas. Show up in Las Vegas with proof of registration to any national OCR event dated this weekend and receive a free Spartan entry. Okay, wait. First of all, show up with proof of registration to any national OCR event dated this weekend. Who do you think they're talking about there? How many other national OCR events are there besides Spartan and Tough Mudder? Warrior Dash, I guess. Rugged Maniac, maybe. I don't even think either of them were racing this weekend, though, and definitely not around Vegas. Anyway, so that's where Morgan got her free Las Vegas entry. The opinion was split online over whether this was a classy move by Spartan to give a free race entry to canceled Tough Mudder participants, or whether it was just some marketing snark. But come on. When's the last time Spartan made some snarky marketing play?
Are you ready? It's the mother of all obstacle races, and it will literally tear your face off.
I just want to stay active and challenge myself. Is that part of your race?
No!
Of course, Spartan giving out free races to canceled Tough Mudder participants was a classy move. I'm sure they meant it as an olive branch to the Tough Mudder community. It was a gesture of goodwill. Because whether your favorite race is Tough Mudder or your favorite race is Spartan race, we're all part of the human race. I said this on Twitter the day it happened. The only thing worse than running 8 hours in the cold, miserable mountains of LA is not running 8 hours in the cold, miserable mountains of LA. And that's what we were all doing, wishing we were out running in the cold. I was in my hotel room with my family on Saturday night, and I looked at my clock at 9 o'clock, and I thought, parking should be opening up right now. And I woke up the next day at 7:45, Sunday morning, and I looked at that hotel room clock again, and I thought, race is almost over. I don't know what I was doing at 8:30. So what's next? Are they going to reschedule? I don't know if they're going to reschedule or not. They offered to transfer Toughest Mudder West tickets for free to any of the other Toughest Mudders in the U.S. So that makes me think they're not going to reschedule. Those other three toughest are Toughest Mudder South in Central Texas on May 5th, Toughest Mudder Midwest in Michigan on June 2nd, and Toughest Mudder East in Boston on June 23rd. But if they do reschedule, where will they hold it, and when will they hold it? Again, I don't know anything more than you do that I can talk about, but it doesn't take an inside scoop to look at the schedule and try to figure out what they're thinking. I posted this on our Instagram and Facebook page a couple days ago, facebook.com/World's Toughest Pod. If I were in charge of rescheduling Toughest Mudder West, I would have 3 criteria for the new venue. 1, it would be held at an existing venue. 2, it would be held west of the Central Texas venue. And 3, it would not conflict with any other Tough Mudder competitive events. TMX, Tougher, Toughest, World's Toughest. Let's talk about those one by one. 1, if they're going to reschedule, it needs to be held at an existing venue. And this is just a financial thing. It's too expensive to reschedule the race otherwise. When I posted this on Facebook, Travis Langness said, how about they just do it a different weekend at the same venue in Santa Clarita? And I just don't think that would be an option. Even if they got the venue for free, there is still the expense of shipping everything out there, rebuilding the course, and flying out all their employees. And I don't think that would happen. 2, if they're going to reschedule, it'll need to be west of the Central Texas venue. It's Toughest Mudder West, not Toughest Mudder, Missouri. So with those first two criteria in mind, there are 9 possible locations to reschedule Toughest Mudder West. I say there's 9. Most of these are a bad fit, and we'll talk about why in a minute. The 9 possible dates and venues would be March 24th, Arizona, March 24th, Sacramento, June 9th, Tahoe, June 16th, Whistler, August 25th, Colorado, September 22nd, Seattle, October 6th, NorCal, October 20th, Las Vegas, November 3rd, SoCal. So with those 9 in mind, criteria number 3, no conflict with any other competitive Tough Mudder events. TMX, Tougher, Toughest, World's Toughest. Okay, so let's talk about those 9 venues one by one. The first 2, Arizona and Sacramento on March 24th. First of all, that's 2 weeks away as I record this. Plane tickets and hotel reservations are going to be too expensive now, or more expensive than they should be. Secondly, Sacramento is the first TMX of the year, so Sacramento and Arizona are both not an option. The third one, Tahoe on June 9th. The actual Tahoe weekend, June 9th, is open, but Toughest Mudder Midwest is 1 week earlier on June 2nd, and that's not enough recovery time for the elites. Last year, Sarah Knight was the only elite to run Toughest Mudder UK and then run Toughest Mudder Philly 1 week later, and she paid for it. She got a foot injury that knocked her out for the rest of the year. She missed World's Toughest Mudder, and she's still dealing with it. 1 week is not enough time between Toughest Mudder events for the elites. Also, 1 week after the Tahoe weekend is Whistler, which is part of the Tougher Mudder Championship Series. The fourth city in our potential rescheduling list is Whistler on June 16th. Like I just mentioned, Whistler is already home to the Tougher Mudder Championship Series. Team HQ has said they don't want them to conflict with each other in case someone wants to compete hard in all of them. Whistler is the fourth city on our list of 9 that will not work. Number 5, Colorado on August 25th. This is the same weekend as the Tougher Mudder Championship Series race in Chicago. Direct conflict. 6 is Seattle on September 22nd. Seattle, on September 22nd, is the host of the Tougher Mudder World Championship race. They're not going to have the Tougher Championship and Toughest West at the same venue, 16 hours apart. Number 7 is the first venue that could work with these restrictions that we put on ourselves. NorCal on October 6th is not ideal. It's only 5 weeks before World's Toughest Mudder, which isn't great. You don't want to get hurt or risk getting hurt that close to World's Toughest. But there are no competitive conflicts like our first 6 cities. Also, on Facebook, Jennifer Gray Golick made a comment that it would have a nice Phoenix from the Ashes story to it, because last year the NorCal venue was canceled due to wildfires. Toughest West was canceled due to floods and made its return at NorCal. Potentially. So, possibly NorCal on October 6th. Number 8, that's number 7, NorCal. Number 8 could also work, maybe. Las Vegas on October 20th. No conflicts with other Tough Mudder competitive races, but it is the weekend of the OCR World Championships in England. And I honestly don't know if Tough Mudder would care about that or not. Like, if that would even be a factor in their scheduling, the OCR World Championships. Putting that aside, there are no Tough Mudder conflicts, but it is still only 3 weeks before World's Toughest Mudder. But Las Vegas, the storyline of returning to the desert and everyone getting one last jump off the cliff, it might be hard for Team HQ to resist. Number 9 would not work. SoCal on November 3rd. That's only 1 week before World's Toughest Mudder. Not an option. When I posted this on Facebook, the responses were split. About 45% wanting NorCal and 45% wanting Vegas and 10% wanting something else. A few people wanted Whistler, even though it would conflict with a tougher championship race. Grant Polson voted for Tahoe, even with the short recovery time from Toughest Mudder Midwest. I say voted. No one's voting here. Tough Mudder's not holding an election. This is a benevolent dictatorship. And as I mentioned earlier, a few people said they should go back to Santa Clarita, the venue that was rained out this past weekend. Daniel Ludwig brought up a good point. If they find a good weekend that works at the Santa Clarita venue, they could do the whole weekend. Everything got rained out this past weekend, not just Toughest. They could do Tougher on Saturday. They could do full days of Tough on Saturday and full day of Tough on Sunday. They could do 5Ks on Sunday if they wanted to, and they could do Toughest Saturday night. So if they go that route, they would just need to pick a nice open weekend in the summer or early fall and go for it. In good news this week, people were concerned about the regular Tough Mudder being 2 loops of a 5-mile course instead of the 10-mile course it's been in the past. The biggest concern was backups at the obstacles. I'm happy to say there were no lines at any obstacles at Tough Mudder LA. Before we talk with Heather Heaton, let's read some iTunes reviews. No, before we do that, I am collecting your best 5 stars. And Caitlin Ritter from the Obstacle Running Adventures podcast gave me 2 this week on her podcast. Let me know which one I should keep. Caitlin number 1.
5 stars. I can't do it.
Or Caitlin number 2.
So
5 stars.
Number 1.
5 stars. I can't do it.
Number 2.
So
5 stars.
Let me know. willhicks@gmail.com. You can send me your 5 stars at willhicks@gmail.com. Now, let's read some iTunes reviews. The first review comes from the U.S. Ray Frank H. writes, informative, entertaining, and encouraging. 5 stars. I enjoy listening to this podcast. Your interviews make me feel as if I am in the same room with you and the one you are interviewing. Additionally, you make the guest be the center of the interview, a la Johnny Carson. Keep up the good work. And son, I love you. Dad. Well, that review took a twist at the end there. Thank you, Dad. You thought I was joking about my parents listening to the show. My dad ran Tough Mudder SoCal with my brother and I in 2016. The first year it was in Lake Elsinore by the minor league baseball stadium. We did the full 10 miles. Well done, Dad. Second review comes from Australia. Jeremy reading... Oh, Jeremy. We read a letter of his a few episodes ago. Jeremy writes, awesome podcast. 5 stars. G'day. From down... Oh, come on. Come on, Jeremy. You start g'day. I got to... G'day. From down under. I can't do that. Your podcast is the only thing that keeps me motivated during my Sunday long run. You are single-handedly saving my WTM career. I always got bored during my long runs, so I never trained enough, but not anymore. Thanks for the awesome shows. Jeremy Reading, 32, Canberra, Australia. Thank you, Jeremy. Check out Jeremy. He wrote a very nice email to me a few weeks ago, and then he wrote some of that in a review on Apple Podcasts for all of the world or all of Australia to enjoy. I appreciate that, Jeremy. Very kind. That boredom is real on the long runs. Man, whew. I am honored you listen to our show while you're out doing those runs. Well done. If you'd like to be a part of the show, like Jeremy Reading and my dad, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts too. Just open the purple podcast app on your iPhone and search for Tough Mudder. We're the first one that pops up. Click our logo and then scroll down to click on Write a Review, and I will read it on a future episode. Heather Heaton is a valued member of the World's Toughest Mudder community. She's a member of Team 3 Rex, who you may know best as the people that organize the blue pit crew headbands at World's Toughest each year. That is a fundraiser for charity. She runs World's Toughest. She volunteers. She pits for her friends at Toughest Mudder. She does it all with a smile on her face. It's time to talk with Heather Heaton. Let's go to the phones. Heather Heaton, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Heather, tell me about your first World's Toughest Mudder.
So that was 2014. That was the sandstorm year. I actually went without pit. I was not part of the World's Toughest Mudder community page yet. So I went in knowing nothing. Made it till midnight, tore my calf, went another 13 miles, completed 35 miles a year, felt pretty good about it. Swore I would never do it again, and done it 2 times since.
So you say you went in knowing nothing. When you say knowing nothing, like what did you show up with?
I didn't show up with gloves. I didn't show up with I showed up with a headlamp, a wetsuit, and some shoes, basically, in a small tent.
What did you do as far as like food, or did you think about that?
I went to Target and picked up a bunch of random foods. I had bagels with ham and cream cheese. I had some Oreos. I had water. I didn't have any kind of nutrition system as far as Tailwind or anything like that. I went in completely blind.
So what compelled you to sign up that first year?
I got the email that you could do it without having to qualify.
Right.
And about 12 hours later, I signed up for it. It is something that was on my list after I've been doing Tough Mudders for a while and always wanted to try and qualify. And once I got the email that anyone could do it, I was like, count me in.
They had that qualification thing for a few years. You had to finish in the top 5% or top 10%.
I think it was like top 4% as far as time at a Tough Mudder event, and it was an honor system. But, I waited until I was able to and then jumped right in.
From what I've heard, they had that system, but they never really turned anyone away. So it makes me think like, man, I wish I would have tried to sign up at least, before. Yeah,
it would have been nice to go out to Jersey. I've only experienced Vegas so far.
So tell me about that first year. You went in kind of cold. What did you know, like as far as, back then there was no Toughest Mudder. There was no 8-hour practice runs. It was 10 miles or 24 hours. What did you know going in?
I didn't know very much, just what the emails had sent out. I did my first double lap at a Tough Mudder event in SoCal that year. It was kind of a test to see if I could really handle the mileage. I had been training, doing a lot of half marathons running, but the longest distance I'd ever gone was 13 miles at that point. And I had just done, I think, 10 regular Tough Mudders at that point.
How did you tear your calf?
Running up Everest at 12 a.m. because like I said, my nutrition wasn't on point, and I'm sure I needed more salt in my system. So it tore. I thought it was just severely pulled. I went to medical. They worked on it. They kicked me out right before I hit the disqualification point. I walked for about 5 miserable hours on course by myself, in a lot of pain, crying somewhat too. And finally, the pain got to be too much around 5 a.m., and I pulled myself off course.
Was that when you were done with your 35 miles? Was it in the morning there?
Yes. I was going for 50, and I was pacing pretty well on track to at least get 45, but I couldn't do it anymore.
So were you walking? Was that 5 hours during the sandstorm overnight?
Yes, I was overnight. I did not have goggles. I did not have gloves. I had a headlamp, and I remember seeing King of Swingers tipping over, and I don't know how I survived that night, but I made it.
What did you think of the whole sandstorm, the whole deal?
It's kind of all a blur now, but from what I remember, I thought that was normal in Vegas.
Right.
So I didn't think anything of it. I didn't know that this was a freak year.
It was your first year,
I joined the World's Community. Yeah, until I joined the World's Community and found out what a big deal it was. So I came super prepared. The next Worlds I did, I came with everything. I had goggles still in my bin.
You know what? I bring those goggles I bring them to every Toughest Mudder, like just in case. Like in case there's a sandstorm in Whistler, I'm going to be ready.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So after 2014, before your next World's Toughest, you joined the World's Toughest community. How did you find the community online?
I actually met my ex-boyfriend on course at Worlds on my third lap, and he was part of the community, and he added me to the group.
So how did the community help you prepare for your next World's Toughest?
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Just the supply list, all the nutrition tips, just preparation, training, everything. I didn't do Worlds in 2015 because I tore my ACL at a Tough Mudder in Toronto that year. So my first Worlds back at it was 2016, and it was a completely different experience being part of the community.
What's the biggest thing you think you've learned from the community?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if there's one biggest thing I would say I've learned from the community. I mean, I've learned so much. I mean, just even knowing people on course, that's huge for me. So that in the middle of the night when you're by yourself walking along, you have someone to talk to and cheer you on and be excited to see names that you've seen on the page. Gloves, leg mitts, that's a huge one. That was a huge game changer for me, having gloves at all, I should say.
You mentioned seeing people out on the course. The mental part of it we talk about sometimes, like in the middle of the night, is really hard. But it is so nice just to like see a face that you recognize, where you're like, oh, I know that guy, and like you can just, everyone's out there doing the same thing, even if you're strangers. But to see like a familiar face, like Heaton, or someone that out there is there's value.
Yeah, definitely. And then seeing names of being like, I know you from Facebook, and just starting a conversation up with someone new. I mean, that's great I teamed up with Laura Politi this past year, and we chatted it up with so many different people in the middle of the night from elites. We saw Lindsay Webster. We walked with her for about a half mile when she was hurting on one of her late night laps. I can't even tell you anyone else, really. I ran into so many people. And it was just great chatting with them and just making the night that much better, because I think that 12 to 5 is probably the most miserable time on course.
So tell me about your second time. What was your second World's Toughest Mudder?
So that was 2016, and that was a completely different experience. I went with pit this time, so I actually had pit crew. I went grouped up with Team 3 Rex and pitted with them. And I had all the gear I can possibly need. I teamed up with Shawnee for the first 3 laps, and then at 3 o'clock in the morning, she was getting off course, and I didn't want to go out by myself. I wasn't in the mindset to be by myself. And then Laura was there suffering from hypothermia, and we got her warmed back up, and we went back on course for a few more laps. And it was a blast. It was the best experience. I loved every moment of it. There was not one moment I was sad. It was an overall great experience. I couldn't wait to do it again.
Why do you think you were so happy the whole time?
I think because I knew people going into this time. I mean, I had so much fun in the build up. So in 2014, I flew out Friday afternoon by myself. Met a couple people on a shuttle going to the hotel, went to the Tough Mudder hosted dinner, met a few people, did the event, was by myself, flew home Sunday after the event, in a wheelchair at the airport, crying in pain. Just horrible experience.
By yourself in a wheelchair?
Exactly. I was crying in the airport. It was horrible. I went up to someone. I'm like, I need help. I can't walk. I tore my calf, like telling him what I had just been through. And she just looked at me like, what? So in 2016, being able to do the stock dinner, being able to do the community dinner at the Fiesta, just going into it, like knowing so many people and just it being such a different experience. I had been looking forward to it since I met everyone. I reached out to Kevin Chow in January of 2016 and started to hang out with everyone, started to do the 8 a.m. start times with the community, doing the dinners, housing with everyone. So that was my first year really getting involved with everyone.
Yeah, if you want to, you can really get plugged into, they have like group houses where, someone will rent a house and you can like just pay for a bed or a spot on the couch. What are some of those activities the community does that you're involved in?
So we get together. A lot of us Northern California ladies hang out regularly. I hang out with Monica Pena, Christy Clay, Christine Parker, and we tend to do workouts together or go wine tasting, just any excuse to hang out. So I've definitely created a new circle of friends through the Tough Mudder community that I consider like friends outside that when I stop doing Tough Mudders, I know I'm going to still keep in touch with them.
You mentioned Team 3 Rex. Tell me, who is Team 3 Rex? What is that?
That is myself, John Glines, Taylor Glines, Laura Pleedy, and Christine Parker. It was just a team that first was created by John in 2016. They teamed up to do World's Toughest Mudder together. Fundraise. We're in charge of the pit crew headbands. So we're the ones that started that. And they adopted me into the team in Chicago this year. So I think we might be taking over the sock dinner in Atlanta this year. We did the auction, and just something that we came up with.
What is the sock dinner?
The sock dinner. Well, it was Maddie's thing, where the charity where we purchased the socks, the World's Toughest Mudder socks each year. And Maddie is now retired, so we are looking into taking over responsibility for that.
Yeah, every year he would have he says he's retired. He won't get off the boards. Every year he...
I know, right?
every year he designs like a new sock, like socks, like compression socks that you would wear on a course. And some years they had like mileage on the side, like 50 miles, 75 miles, 100 miles. There was like a limited edition Piss and Cox socks that he made one year for Carlo and Josh. And last year I think he even had Holy Grail socks, didn't he?
No, that ended up falling through. Something to do with the sock design. He was going to have or maybe he did. I don't know if he did. I didn't get the Holy Grail, so I'm not sure if they had the Holy Grail socks. But I felt like there was a design, and then there was a change in what they were going to offer. But there were toe socks was the new thing this year. They were compression socks.
Yeah. So you guys are going to take over that, kind of as the fundraiser of the of World's Toughest, the community there?
Yes.
That's exciting. And those headbands, you mentioned them, but they're actually pretty cool. This year they had the official logo on them. I guess you guys got it licensed from Team HQ?
Yeah, we got a license for 500 headbands, and we sold all of them, every last one. They're
really great. Like your pit crew does a lot of work for you at World's Toughest, and they're having fun, but it's a lot of work, and it's a small thing you can give to them. And you see the pit crew wearing them when they're setting up on Saturday morning or Friday afternoon, whatever. And it's pretty cool.
Well, I think, it's such a big experience for pit crew to go that it's not just about us as the athletes, but for them to feel special and part of the community as well, I think is very important. So, we got pictures of kids of the athletes or significant others wearing the headbands and how excited they were to get them. When we were selling them in person, people were buying them for the pit crew, running up to us being like, I have to get one for my wife. She needs one. She's going to love this. And so it's definitely camaraderie for the pit crew as well, just to show some support for them because they do so much to take care of us.
Are you guys going to do the headbands this year?
Yes, definitely.
And where does that money go to?
Team Rubicon. I don't know if we're changing charities this year. I'm assuming it's the same. I haven't heard anything yet, but that's the plan as far as I know.
I haven't either. Team Rubicon was the official charity partner last year. But you're right. No, I haven't heard much about them yet this year. Well, I mean, we haven't really run yet, so.
Yeah. First Tough Mudder is yet to happen.
How did you do in 2016?
2016, I did 35 miles.
And then you also ran last year, 2017. Tell me about that.
I got 40 official miles. I got 52 unofficial miles. I stepped on a 1.5-inch thorn on my first lap on the sprint lap and walked barefoot for about a mile while we were trying to get the thorn out of my shoe. So that was a great start, and I just thought, if this is how my world is going to go, this is going to be horrible. But no, we made 2 laps out of wetsuits, and then Laura and I actually wore frog skins the whole time, and we were fine.
Really?
We heard tons of people getting off course in wetsuits and freezing. Other people in our pit, Christy Clay and Christine Parker, both got too cold in their wetsuits. But we had frog skins on, bleg mitts, windbreakers, and caps, and we were fine. We stayed warm enough the whole time.
Frog skins are just like a 1 mil or 1.5 mil kind of neoprene.
Yeah.
We don't
know how that happened.
Were you able to run?
Worked.
Like, were you running, keeping warm?
We were walking, probably going forth after our fourth lap on, like I would say nighttime came around, and we were walking for the most part, so we weren't even running.
Wow. Well, I don't know what you did, but it worked. Good job.
I know. I don't know. Maybe it was all the cup of noodle. I don't know.
Love that cup of noodle. So last year,
that was what I looked forward to every lap.
You know what? People joke about it, but it's perfect for World's Toughest. It's easy to make. It's in the cup already. You just add hot water. It's the perfect. It's got the the carbs, the salt. It's like the perfect World's Toughest food.
It really is.
So this year also you were at several of the toughest mudders. You tell me what you did in L.A. and Whistler.
I volunteered at Hang Time, both in L.A. and Whistler.
Now you live in Northern California, so you traveled to L.A. You flew internationally to Whistler to volunteer. Why do you do that?
I still wanted to be part of the event. I didn't really have much interest in an overnight race with the exception of World's Toughest Mudder, but I definitely wanted to be involved in the process, and I love volunteering. I've volunteered, I think, 6 times now, and so I just decided that, I wasn't going to run LA, but I wanted to be there, so I ran Saturday Tough Mudder, volunteered Toughest, and then did Sunday Fun Day.
What are the perks? Don't they give you something when you volunteer at like an overnight shift like that?
For the Toughest, it's a free entry to a Tough Mudder, and you get a patch and a beanie and a shirt and all the coffee and breakfast and dinner.
What's it like being on top of you're on top of Hang Time, it's cold, some people don't want to go, they don't want to jump. What's it like being up there for 8 hours?
Oh, it was awesome. I loved helping people figure out how to conquer the obstacle because there were many people that were going 1, 2, 3 laps on it and not making it, and then watching, observing, learning the process and how the best way to get the obstacle for someone whose grip strength is starting to go and talking them through it and getting them up and over the obstacle was so much fun. There were many people that I volunteered Hang Time at both toughest events. So walking people off the edge, because we got a lot of people afraid of heights up there. And we had one girl up there for 45 minutes crying, and we were trying to get her to walk off the ledge, and just trying to talk someone off a ledge literally is interesting, just being able to help them. It was almost like pitting, but it was pitting on just one obstacle. That's what I guess the experience was like, because I pitted in Chicago, and the same thing, to be on the other end and to talk someone back onto the course and to cheer them on and to offer that emotional support, it was a lot of fun. It was definitely a different experience, but I really, really enjoyed it.
That can be a tough obstacle for people because it's not must complete, but you have to at least jump off the 10-foot, 12-foot platform into the water.
Well, there are many people that tried over and over again and could not nail that obstacle. You can ask Sharkbait. She finally made it at her last toughest. I saw her at 3 toughest. It was finally, I think, in Chicago that she finally made it.
That's a hard obstacle.
Yeah.
So tell me about...
I wish I had the opportunity to try it, but...
That's the thing about volunteering overnight. Like, I've seen guys that volunteer at King of the Swingers during the day, and they're like playing on the obstacle when there's no runners, They're like jumping, trying it, practicing it, climbing out, and then, then volunteering when people come up. But you can't really do that at night. You're going to get freezing cold just standing there.
Exactly. I thought about doing it at the end of my shift, but I was like, do I really want to be cold, any more cold than I already am when they have to pick me up from the obstacle and take me back and change? I was like, I was hoping it would be at Worlds, but it wasn't. That was kind of a disappointment.
And Whistler got kind of dicey with the weather at the end there too. It was like almost snowing during the award ceremony.
Oh yeah, it was definitely coming down. I mean, it was starting to rain. I was a giant towel for a lot of people, drying off their hands before they attempted the obstacle.
Tell me about Toughest Mudder Chicago last year.
That was fun. I was pit for that one. For maybe I helped out maybe 6 or 7 different people. It was such a fun experience to watch the athletes lap each time around, and especially watch the elites and cheer on. I was rooting for Christopher Mendoza more than anyone else because he hadn't placed top 5 yet, and I was rooting for him to get there. So to be in the pit and be able to cheer everyone on and cheer on the elites and cheer on all the regular athletes. And we just stood there, and every single person we saw coming by every lap, we just screamed at the top of our lungs for them. And I loved it. I'm actually going to be pitting this year at 2018 for Christine Parker and Ken Ziegler. So I'm going to be trying something new this year, but I had the best experience pitting at Chicago.
So you were planning on volunteering this weekend at Toughest Mudder West. What happened this weekend?
Mudslides. We had some fires, and we've had a lot of fires in California after the last few years, and there was a big fire near the location that Tough Mudder was supposed to take place this weekend a couple of years back, and we had some flash floods, and the course got destroyed, and it became unsafe. Safety vehicles weren't going to be able to get to all the obstacles. The base was completely destroyed. A lot of it was still underwater, so it got canceled.
How did you hear about it?
So we have a group chat on Facebook Messenger, Toughest 2018 LA something or other. And we were driving down from Northern California, and we were about 20 minutes north of the Grapevine. The Grapevine is the hills that separate Central California to Southern California. And my phone started blowing up, and I was like, let's take a look at what's going on in the group chat. And Tough Mudder's canceled, reliable sources, it's not going to happen, flash floods. And as soon as we heard that, I turned to Christine, and we're like, we're going to Disneyland. We have season passes, and we were just there last weekend for my birthday. So we figured, let's go to Disneyland. We have to go drive all the way down here anyway. We had to drop off the Canadians. They had to fly out of Burbank on Sunday anyway. So let's go to the park. Let's see how many people we can take with us.
Tell me about that trip. How many people went to Disneyland with you?
There were 10 of us for most of the day, and then the Gerard family and the kids showed up for dinner late at night, but there were 10 of us running around the parks.
I know
having fun going on all the rides.
I know Allison Ty likes to take her kids there after World's Toughest Mudder when it was in Vegas. What do you do with passes when you've been there so many times? Like, what do you do for fun at Disneyland now?
Well, there is alcohol at Disney's California Adventure, so we have that going for us. But we are big fans of the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, and we could go on that over and over again. But just all the roller coasters. I mean, we got tickets to go to both parks, and we utilized FastPass on my phone. So we just ran it back and forth between 2 parks and just went on rides all day long. I
saw the picture you guys posted from Guardians of the Galaxy. You're all like sad looking at the camera.
Yes. We were trying to think of what to do. We're like, we're going to post this one on the World's page and say that we're really sad that LA was canceled. So we're just going to look miserable on the ride.
And some of you guys were wearing headbands, I saw.
Yeah, we brought. We had some of us had headbands already. Christine had some in the car, so we threw them on just because it's Tough Mudder Disneyland.
Did you ever see the video Drake posted of his contender coming through?
All right, let's go. Come on. Excuse me. Contender coming through. Excuse me. Contender coming through. Excuse me. Excuse me. Contender coming through. Excuse me. Excuse me. Contender coming through.
Yes, at the Storybook Land ride. I saw that. That was hilarious.
That made me cringe for him, like for the people around him. Like I could not do that.
I'm not going to lie. There was a few times we were getting through the crowds that we screamed contender.
Have you ever been to Club 33?
I have. I've been twice.
How was that?
Oh, it's amazing. I still have a few souvenirs from when I went.
Well, Heather, what is your plan for 2018?
I'm going to, well, even though LA was canceled, I figured out how I can make it work, that I'm actually going to hit 50 Tough Mudders by the end of the year.
What are you at right now?
I'm at 36.
Okay.
No toughest events for me. Toughest West, I'm actually going up to Montana, and I'm doing Spartan that weekend. So I'm hoping that another toughest West will happen. I know there's been the discussion. I saw your post about how Las Vegas would make the most sense. I'm going to that one, so I hope that will happen. I think Tahoe would be amazing. I would love if we did toughest Tahoe. That would be a fantastic challenge for everyone. But, 14 Tough Mudders, a couple Rugged Maniacs. I'm going to get my first Spartan trifecta this year, and pitting for Worlds. That's my plan.
That's exciting. And who are you going to pit for?
For Worlds, Ken Ziegler and Christine Parker.
Any last thoughts on Toughest Mudder West that didn't happen, or World's Toughest Mudder?
No, I think Worlds went exactly how I wanted it to this year. I got unofficially 50 miles, so I'll take it. I didn't get injured, so I'm happy with that. And then toughest, I understand why it got canceled. It sucks, but, unfortunately, that's the third Tough Mudder event that's been canceled in California in the last year due to weather.
Talk about that.
Hoping that rest of them...
There's the wildfires last year in Northern California.
So Tahoe got canceled and it got moved to Sacramento because we actually got so much rain last year that there was still too much snow at Tahoe to host the Tough Mudder, so they moved to Sacramento. Then Sonoma was supposed to happen, and the Sunday before, the fires broke out, and actually half of the Sonoma course burnt down. So they canceled that the Wednesday before it was supposed to take place. And then now LA gets canceled a day before because of mudslides.
It's usually really rare that they cancel an event or a weekend like that, but you're right, it's been a lot lately.
Which is crazy because California, we're actually known for having the best weather, and we're having problems because of the weather.
And we do! Come on!
It's true. Unfortunately, it's affected the Tough Mudder season, and it's unfortunate. But I'm hoping that everything else goes to plan this year out here, and I'm really hoping that they'll just schedule another LA event and add it on the calendar maybe this summer.
They could do that. Someone posted that they could just reschedule the entire weekend. Like, it doesn't have to be just toughest. They could have Tough Mudder on Saturday.
Yeah, because we have Sacramento in 2 weeks. We've got Tahoe in June, and then we don't have another one in California until November in SoCal. So there's the rest of the year that something can be thrown out here in California, NorCal or SoCal.
Did you see after Tough Mudder West got canceled and Spartan had their race in Vegas last weekend, Spartan throw a little shade on social media?
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, the free entries to the Spartan race, if we showed our registration ticket. Yeah, I saw that.
That was pretty clever.
I thought it was. They got some of the people to drive out there, so...
And if nothing else, I told some people about the race being canceled, and they're like, isn't it a mud race? Like, isn't that what you do? Like, it was hard to explain. Like,
exactly.
It was a lot of mud. You don't understand.
My grandma, when I called her and told her, she's like, you're telling me that a mud run got canceled because of some mud? That makes no sense.
Yeah. Heather Heaton, thanks much.
Thank you.
Special thanks to Heather Heaton for appearing on this episode. Well done, Heather. If you can't run Toughest Mudder, there are worse ways to spend your time than at Disneyland with your friends. Did you hear her teeing up the Christopher Mendoza jingle? She knew what she was doing. Be sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts and tell your friends about the show. I will see you next week. Go spend time with someone you love.